Ce sont des résultats de la fraude.
These results are results of a fraud, of a shameful stuffing of ballot boxes to favor the outgoing president. These are the results of serious irregularities and deliberate violations of the electoral law. These are manipulated results. We won't accept them. We won't accept them.
Before officials could even finish counting the votes, Mali's opposition had already rejected the outcome of Sunday's presidential runoff, and it called for supporters to take to the streets. Apart from being accused of ballot stuffing, President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita has raised eyebrows by claiming an early victory. The poll took place under the threat of attack by militant groups, something many believe led to the extremely low turnout. But despite all of that, African Union and European observers say the election was largely fair. So, does the opposition have a case? Let's go to Washington and speak to Alix Boucher. She is an assistant research fellow at the Africa Center for Strategic Studies. Alix Boucher, thank you for joining us. Does indeed the opposition have a case? But how dangerous is it that Soumaila Cisse is asking for people to come onto the streets and rise up?
That's clearly a concern when the observers have so far said that the irregularities, if there were any, were small in number, and that it remains to be seen what the result of the election actually is. I think that if the opposition is concerned about the results, it should follow legal and constitutional processes for contesting the results of the elections once they are known.
If the first round was anything to go by in terms of the results gained by the two who made it into the runoff, Keita and Cisse, it was almost a formality that Keita would win this second term. What was the problem with the opposition out of those more than 20 candidates that stood in the first round and were then knocked out in that first round? Why couldn't they coalesce around Cisse?
That's a very good question. It seems that that they could not come to an agreement as to, as you say, coalescing around him, and that has been a challenge for the opposition. I think another issue has been that, as you just said, there was this feeling, perhaps, that given Ibeka's result in the first round, that the second round might be a foregone conclusion. And we saw also with the low rate of participation, even lower than it was in the first round, that Malian citizens just didn't seem very interested in participating in the vote.
Tell us about the biggest problems that Mali faces.
Well, I think that those are numerous. Clearly, the security concerns, in particular in the center and the north of the region, where various, on one hand, various Islamist groups, and on the other, various militias that try to protect citizens' interest, whether they are concern land tenure or other issues. Those security concerns, I think, are of course paramount. But another big concern has been, of course, reconciliation among the different Malian groups following the crisis of 2012 and 2013. That process has made some progress, but not as much progress as I think many Malian citizens would like. And continuing that reconciliation process is clearly going to be one of the major concerns of the new administration, or Ibeka's second administration, if he's declared the winner.
The economic disparity between the elite, most of whom live in the capital, Bamako, and the rest of the country is extremely acute. There's almost a geographical split between Bamako and the rest of the country as well. How can Boubacar Keita, if he is indeed declared the winner, or Soumaila Cisse, if there's some sort of dispute and he ends up being declared the new president, how can either man really resolve issues that date back so long into the past?
I think one of the first steps will clearly be to take the steps that are mandated in the Algiers peace agreement, which as I said, has not yet happened. So I think that'll be a first step. But second will be to, I think, go to the population and find out from them what their major concerns are and how they can be addressed. The presence of the state needs to be extended to the center and to the north of the country, and that has improved but not yet completely happened. And when the state does extend its presence to those areas, it needs to behave in an accountable and fair fashion towards all of its citizens, and extending that presence is also going to present a challenge.
Corruption is said to be rife. It's led to huge disillusionment amongst so many of the electorate. Turnout, according to the Mali Citizen Observation Pool, was just 27%. That's got to be one of the lowest percentages of turnout of any election in the world. Does it just show that people don't trust the politicians, that they don't care for them, and that they don't believe that they'll deliver anything for the people?
Well, turnout in Malian elections has historically been low. The highest turnout we saw, I think, in the last 3 elections was actually the elections in 2013, when turnout for the presidential election was about just under 50%, if memory serves. And turnout, as we saw in the first round this time, was a little bit lower than that. But as I said, turnout in Mali has historically been low. So clearly, the security issues and the sort of disinterest of Malian citizens continues to be a problem. But I think in terms of the corruption, one of the perhaps encouraging signs that we see is that in 2 recent rounds of surveys that Afrobarometer conducted, the number of Malians who said that the government is accountable rose by about 25 points. But on the flip side of that, the percentage of Malians who said that the government was effective dropped by about 20 points. So we can see there that Malian citizens are more aware of the corruption that pervades their political system, but they feel that the government has not yet taken enough steps to do something about it.
Alix Boucher, thank you very much indeed for your time. We appreciate you joining us on the Newsmakers.
Thank you.